Okay, so now we're going to be implementing the edit role functionality and adding it to our application. So let's get started by going to our administration controller. The first actual action method we're going to have to create is the edit role action method. And if you remember, there's always a get and post edit role action method. Or a get and post for every CRUD operation that creates or edits data or deletes data. So let's start off by creating an HTTP GET version of the method, and we will create our action method by action result edit role string ID. All right, so we have the edit role from iAction result, the get version, and we'll do the same thing to. Now we're going to implement the functionality, and what we're passing in is the ID of the role we're going to be editing from the front end. So we'll say var roles equal to await. The reason why we use async is because this is an asynchronous method. That means we're using the actual key term await inside of it. Await role manager, find by ID async, and then we'll just pass in the ID. So that way we're going to actually get the role associated with this ID. This role ID. Next, we're checking if the role is null. And if it is, we're going to create an error message that will be passed back to the front end. Okay, next we'll return it to view. So now viewBag is an object that allows us to pass data between the controller and the view that's being viewed. So if we don't find the actual role associated with this ID, we're going to just pass back this error message, and the error message is role with ID is equal to this ID, cannot be found. If you use the $ before a string, you can actually use the curly brackets within the string in order to just write in the variable rather than having to use concatenation in C and various other languages. Okay, so now let's continue with the code. So var model is equal to new edit role view model. And why are we using a new view model? That is because the information we are receiving and passing back to the view is specific to that particular page. So we're not passing back all the information, just a subset of the information that's held in role. So in order to get access to that information, we're going to pull it out of the role object, get the role name, name. All right, and now before we continue, let's go to our models and create the edit role view model. Add new class, and our class is going to be called edit role view model. Ta-da! And with that, all we have to do is press enter, and it will be created. Boom. Okay, so we're going to add the following information: prop, string ID, next prop string role name, and if the role, we're going to add a data annotation that'll specify that this is required, and if it's not entered, we're going to return an error message, a custom error message that says role name is required. Then we'll import the libraries for the data annotations by pressing Control period. And next we'll add another variable that will list all the actual users associated with this role. And we'll initialize it by default to a list of string. So these are all the users that are associated with this role. And we'll be able to see that in our edit role view model, which is why we created a view model for it. All right, let's go back to our administration controller. Actually, let's change the namespace from .viewModel to just models. And then we go back and there's no longer an error there. Okay, so now let's iterate through the actual users in the role and add it to our model, our view model, edit role view model. So for each var user in underscore user manager dot users, if await underscore user manager dot is in role async user comma role dot name model dot users dot add user dot username. What this did is iterate through all the user manager users and pull and check to see if that particular user is in the role, which we got before from the outer loop from this object. So we know the role name here. So we're checking with user manager whether the user is in role. And if it is, we're adding it to our edit role view model. Users enumeration. If you remember in our view model, we had an extra attribute that's a list of strings. And in that way, we will have the users in our role, and we have successfully built out our edit role view model. And in the case where we get through all of this, just return the view and the model that's going to be displayed in our actual page. All right, so we've created the actual initial view page that will display if we click on the edit role button. But now we have to implement the functionality to update our actual role if we were to modify the form that we're going to be displaying on our edit role page. So let's implement the post method that's responsible for updating that information. Public async. Notice that it's the asynchronous method again. And model. So this is the actual data or the view model that will be getting passed from our form to update the information. Let's copy and paste our get information, our get method, into our post, and we'll modify it slightly. Okay, we posted it there. And what are we going to change in our post? So if the role is null, we're going to say a role with ID cannot be null. That stays the same. And we'll return the error message. However, we're going to add an else condition. If it's not null, we're going to update our role to model.rolename. We'll we'll do this update of information. This will also be changed to model.id. Cannot use local variable before it is declared. Added here, maybe it's the errors that are from the old code that's confusing it. Model.id. There we go. This is causing the complaint. Okay, because we declared it, but we're actually passing in the actual model, so it was getting confused. Okay, so we update the role name if it has been changed. We're going to get the result by updating the role name via the role manager and seeing if it's successful. Okay, so I updated it, see if it's successful, then I'll use result. This variable will be an identity result, which is part of the right identity framework. Result.succeeded. Then what we're going to do is redirect, return, redirect to action index. So that'll redirect to our list of roles. Next, for each, we're going to check if there's any errors. If it didn't succeed, by using the following. See, it's so prettily laid out by using these libraries. It'll return all the errors that were encountered, and then you can iterate through them with an error variable. Then we're going to update the model state to display those errors if the error has occurred on our view. We'll just say error.description. Alright, and if that's done, we will return the view of the model with the model's information. Okay, so we've implemented the edit code for our data. We don't need this anymore because it'll never be reached. And so now let's create our edit role view. Edit role. Okay. Add. Okay, so now let's create the HTML for this page. So we're going to create a form that will have the actual fields that we're going to be updating for the role, or allow the user to update for the role. Class empty. This is a Bootstrap class again. That's the visual library that we're using, making our layouts more pretty. The class form group role, creating a role. Now we're going to create a label for our ID. Class. Okay. Created our ID label. Class equals. ASB4. So we're not going to allow the user to update the ID, obviously, because it's not an editable field even in the database. It's a primary key. Okay, so in our first row, we're going to display the ID, and that would be we also have to define our model that we're going to be implementing. Okay. Next role, we're going to actually display the role name. So let's write out that HTML. Actually, just copy and paste it. Okay, and this will be role name. And it's not disabled because this could be modified. And finally, we're going to display the errors if they occur using this generic tag, ASP validation summary, all, and class equals text dash danger. Okay. Now, submit. We're creating a submit button for the form. And we'll have a cancel in case they want to go back to the main page. Close. Index class is equal to etn primary, and we'll say cancel. Okay, cool. Finally, we're going to list all the users. In the role, in the case that those are to be edited later on. So we'll create a new card. Now we're going to list out the users by iterating through them. Okay. Model.users.any for each var user in model.users. Class is equal to card title at user. Okay. And then otherwise, h5 card no users in role. Okay. And then finally, we're going to have a link to a page that will allow us to edit the actual users in a role. But we'll implement that later. In primary, edit users in role. Okay, and we're going to also, and that's all for now. Okay, so now let's go back to our list of users. A list of roles, I mean, and create the actual link fill in the missing data in order to link it to our edit users page. Administration, make sure it's spelled properly, administration, and asp.action is equal to edit role, and there you go. We have a page that allows to edit the name of our user and the functionality of our user's role and the functionality implemented to at least edit the user's role's name. So let's press play and see if we've gotten this right on the first try without making any code mistakes. Okay, go to user admin. Now let's click on user role. And we have an issue. It says object reference not set to an instance of an object. .users.any. And this is because so we're going to have to figure out the source of this issue.